It'll be fun. It'll be wonderful. So, all right. So today we wanted to talk about counselors in training, burnout, and self-protective measures. This is a topic that we talk about way too much. We bring this up a lot. We say it, but do we really do this in counseling education? Are we across the country really normalizing discussions around self-care strategies and counselor burnout in our curriculum programs? I don't know. I don't know if we're doing a well enough job as counselor educators to talk about this in every single class, which we probably should be talking about in every single class, because burnout is really like an occupational hazard. This is what I've been calling it. It's an occupational hazard of the job, just like first responders. You're a police officer, and it's an occupational hazard that you take, that you run the risk of potentially getting shot or dying in the line of duty. And so, as a counseling professional and as working within the mental health care setting, one of our occupational hazards is ourselves to run the risk of having anxiety, having agitated anxiety. I don't know, you heard Dr. Smith and I talking about juggling dissertation and writing my dissertation and presenting at 3 different places in 4 weeks. And this is burnout that's at its best. By the way, I have 3 children too, 2 dogs, 2 turtles, a bird. I have to food shop, cook dinner. My son's out at a comic book convention today. I got to go get him, bring him back home. So juggling is kind of an everyday thing that we do as counselors and counselor educators. So it's important that we talk about this and we start to really normalize why is this so important for us. So today we wanted to kind of just some objectives that we're going to talk about is like burnout in and resilience in trauma counseling in graduate education programs. And we're hoping that you'll all really kind of just get in a context of like, what is burnout? Why do we want to talk about it? What are some organic factors contributing to burnout? We used Albie's model, which talks about organic factors and then factors that we're going to use to reduce collective efficacy, which is things that we're going to use to reduce some of the effects of burnout that are, like I said, just traditional things that are going to happen as you work as a counselor educator or as a counselor professional working with patients in the mental health care setting. So participants are going to have an increased understanding of some environmental factors that contribute to burnout, and then also understand some ways to implement strategies and wellness in the counseling program. We have a really great tool. I was telling Kyle, I think I'm probably his biggest fan because I love his passion for technology and integrating technology into our counseling profession, which is really something that we're not doing a great job about talking about yet, because this is in the infancy stage of talking about integrating AI in counseling education and in counseling training programs, but also virtual reality, which is what I just mentioned to Dr. Smith. But these integrative tools, these bot technologies and AI are things that we really need to start to build into our curriculum as well, because our students are looking to app technology to help reduce stress. I'm the biggest fan of Headspace. I use it all the time. Headspace now offers counseling, and Headspace has an AI-generated, emotion-generated response tool for journaling, and it reflects back what you write. So using strategies like this and talking about strategies very early on in our curriculum and our master level training programs is really important. So I'm going to pass this over to Rob Loper to talk about what are we doing here.
How about Rob Olsen instead?
Oh, Rob Olsen, sorry.
That's okay.
We just talked about that too, so.
That's okay. So just looking at that first point, burnout is real. And I know I don't need to tell necessarily this audience that statement, but it certainly is important to identify. And as I was kind of prepping my little section here, I could certainly quote some research that helps define the terms that are often associated and with burnout, like emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. But instead of simply quoting research, I want you to think about the many metaphors that we as individuals and as a society use related that kind of fit within this idea of burnout. Think first of all, though, even before that, about the limited resource that we have in our lives. Now, unless you're a multi-billionaire, millionaire, whatever, we have limited money. We have limited time. And then even our emotional reserves are limited as we consider our interaction and what we're doing. So think about these metaphors that we use in our society. Running on empty. My well is dry. Boy, I'm just stretched too thin. My brain is fried. I'm running on fumes today. I have overworked my brain today. And I imagine if I gave you a few minutes and that you could think of probably hundreds more that metaphors that just give this picture of this idea of exhaustion, of burnout. But there are also metaphors that recognize our limitations and may not necessarily represent exhaustion. For example, gosh, I need to pace myself, or maybe I need to recharge. And each of these metaphors builds on the broader idea that there is this energy that equals this limited resource, and that there's this concept that we don't have unlimited resources available to us. We have limitations in our lives. And so now, obviously, there is a developed scale for the concept of burnout, but it's also this metaphor, burnout itself, related to fire, that is in one way able to express this abstract concept that our inner resources are depleted. So yes, we do have studies, but we also just have this common understanding of this idea of limitations in our lives. So burnout is real. And my colleague, the other Rob Loper, will share in a moment a little bit more about why we should be aware of burnout and other factors. But I also want to challenge all of us before he shares. I want to challenge all of us that this work, that we're in this together as it relates to helping professions or into counseling specifically. So one of the benefits of the counseling profession is the standardization of our competencies, which has led to a standardization of our training models. And standardization of training models are important to ensure development of trainees across similar learning institutions. So CACREP and other professional organizations and accrediting bodies have established these standards that are based on research, that are based on scientific studies, that are based on experience. And while standards have helped the counseling profession, there is this area that has a limited emphasis in spite of the challenges of the academic process and even the profession that we're talking about. So Standard 811 briefly mentions the idea of self-care and self-awareness, but I wonder, as Jen was mentioning just a few minutes ago, I wonder if this concept might warrant a bit more emphasis. Burnout prevention for counselors in training, I think, is an important topic, as well as for new counselors. Because think about it, this is the start of their career. We want to get them off on the right foot. And so we know that dispositions will be evaluated throughout their process. And we know that the faculty and supervisors will be involved in that. But we also want to recognize, again, just the unique challenges of this. So we're going to offer two different options today. We're going to start with Kyle in just a few minutes. And I want you to see these two options almost as like you're going to 7-Eleven and you're looking at the candy section at 7-Eleven. So there you are standing at the candy section, and there's so many different options there. And if it's me, there are a couple candies I look at, but certainly um, Mike and Ike, Sour Patch Kids. I mean, these are some things that I just like gravitate toward. But I got to be honest, anything licorice based, I am just pushing away. I'm not going anywhere near it. So we might get to the end of this today and it might just resonate with you. And you might see, boy, that's something that I want to grab onto, and that's something that I want to implement in my life, or maybe in the lives of those that either I teach, or maybe in the lives of those that I supervise, or maybe it's just I interact with counselors and I think this would be great. Pass it on. And that's awesome. But you might say, you know what, that's just not for me. But that's okay because there are many other options as we consider this idea of how do we help these students or these new counselors in their development. So Rob, if you could kind of take over and share a little bit more about the why. Why are we talking about this today?
Sure. Thank you, Rob. And as we look at the why of addressing burnout, as we reviewed literature and looked at literature concerning this phenomenon, some of the things we found out through literature review was burnout is often unaddressed in academic environments. Um, in academic environments, one of the things that is prevalent is a culture of resilience, pressing through, working through, not giving up, accomplishing goals. So this relentless demand of scholarship, teaching, not just teaching, but learning new skills as far as counseling skills, counseling roles, uh, is a stressor that it impacts burnout. Another thing we found in the literature was work-life school balance can lead to burnout. This is an issue where many of our students are working. I think Jen alluded to this earlier: working, family life, school life, and some add other lives in there, and they're juggling these wonderful things that all need to be juggled, but burnout increases, and soon there's a replenishment of resources, as Rob alluded to earlier, that creates this burnout phenomenon. Another thing we found was among students that are in counseling education programs, that when burnout levels increase, there's also a withdrawal that takes place in the classroom setting. Students kind of distance themselves from the teacher. They present with academic struggles in the class. Grades begin to see the effects of the burnout. And if you look at KCREP reports over the last number of years, you'll find out that uh, there's really no program that's having 100% graduation success. Many students are dropping out, and some of those are dropping out. The attrition is happening because of this burnout phenomenon. So that's important to consider that and work with the students there. Another interesting thing that was found in the literature was that when burnout is present, it contributes to psychological distress. One study it came across reported that students who are experiencing high levels of burnout can experience up to 2 times more. They're 2 times more likely to struggle with suicidal ideation than students who aren't struggling with burnout. And that's an issue that uh, as teachers or as students we need to be aware of, helping one another and being supportive of one another. The thing that we look at when we look at counselors is maybe counselors have this strong resilience in our training programs, and they make it through this program and they're doing really well. But studies have shown that counselors, there's a higher turnover rate amongst counselors, and this burnout phenomenon doesn't just happen within the classroom setting when students are in the class, but it's carrying over into their counseling work as well. And then I think the final why that I want to look at is talking about burnout helps normalize it. I think it needs to be recognized that this is a common phenomenon. I've read articles that range anywhere from 40, I think it was 40% of students experience this burnout phenomenon, to some programs experiencing upwards to 80% of students experiencing burnout. So it's something that we need to talk about. And as we talk about it and bring it out to the forefront, I think it'll help us build resilience as we move along. And that is our why for addressing the burnout.
Rob, can I add? I was going to say, I just read an article the other day about how students feel when they see their teacher stressed out in front of them. And they're like, okay, this teacher's telling me to like self-care, 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 but they look so stressed. Like, I don't even know if I want to get into this profession if my teacher looks like she's coming in with an eye twitch, her hair's not done. Like, I mean, I don't know.
And Jennifer, I would add to that and say there are many studies that indicate when we look at, if you look at the profession of teaching, and you look at future counselor educators and some who are already educators, the way we present ourselves in the classroom impacts our student. Fact is, this carries over into a lot of other phenomenons, that such as burnout, imposter phenomenon, such as imposter phenomenon and perfectionism. It carries out there too. So this is a strong why of looking at this burnout, because we want to model to our students, but also we want our students to recognize how to work through this so that when they're out in the field, they're successful. I don't think it's valuable to have students graduating in a year, 2 or 3 years later, they're out of the field. I want to see the success continue for years.
That's a good point. Thanks for adding that. Okay. All right, here.
Okay, so speaking of hair not done, my name's Kyle. It's nice to meet everybody. And I'm colleagues with Jen, Rob, and Rob. We go to school together at Regent. So I made a little bit of a tool. This week I tried to stay as practical as I could, kind of the how of burnout prevention led us to this idea of budgeting our resources, budgeting our time, budgeting our capacity, our emotional bandwidth. That's another one of those metaphors that suggests limited resources. And so as you look at this, this is kind of where things started. It's this idea of, our energy can be up to 100%. I've never had my energy at 100%, but I'm sure somehow, somewhere, someone has experienced energy at 100%. I have experienced things that have felt recharging between 5 points and 35 points. The system that I'm going to introduce you to scores various self-care activities as recharging, and equally you see that things take away points from our energy budget, including just being awake. In this model, every hour you're awake drains you 2.5% of your daily energy. And so just being awake is something that is going to take a little bit away from your budget. So let's go to the next slide as I kind of share a little bit more about the development of this. So, we all have different chronotypes. We experience energy peaks and dips throughout the day. This is maybe an illustration of a regular day, a normal day without much stress, right? We're all going to have normal peaks and normal dips. And if we're at 100% at 12 a.m., we're not going to fall asleep. So it's good that we're at about 40. All right, let's go to the next slide. So here's something for a counseling student, right? 2 stressors in the day, a class presentation, which I've scored at 35%, and a difficult client session. And what do you notice? By 10 p.m., crash. Hopefully not crash and burn. Hopefully sleep rejuvenates the system a little bit, but without ways of caring for the self and monitoring our energy level in the day, we are going to feel that dip at 3, slight increase to 30%. I felt a 30% at 7 p.m. And then a real crash at 10 p.m. where it feels good to get in bed and your head feels heavy and you just close your eyes. Well, let's go to the next slide. As we're developing this tool, here's what it might look like with some self-care sprinkled in through the day. A little bit of morning coffee, which the best science suggests that this isn't just an additive, right? This is borrowing from your energy later in the day. maybe 10% now, -7% at 2 p.m. A short walk outside. I say quick 5-minute mindfulness, aware that after a difficult client session, you might have another one starting in about 10 minutes. So you only have a little bit of time to yourself. Get home, snuggle with your pet, take a warm shower, and it's not quite so bad managing that stressful day. So here's what I would like to do. I'd like to introduce you to a tool. I've just put a link in everybody's chat. Does everyone have Excel on their computer? Okay, this tool is designed for Excel. So we can go to the next slide. And I can show you, okay, so we're gonna have 2 exercises. The first exercise is going to be managing a high stress day. And then the second exercise is going to be planning a recovery day. These are 2 things that are very real in the life of students. And as educators, it seems like many people joining us today are in counselor education, a very real part of the life of a counselor educator as well. So let's go to the next slide. Did everyone download that tool? Anybody having trouble? Okay, so the tool, I'm going to orient you to the tool. Everything in yellow, you can edit. Everything that isn't yellow is edited for you. And it all updates automatically. If you look at the biggest line graph at the bottom, this is meant to simulate the energy flow throughout the day. Those dots represent the dots at 100% represent wake time and sleep time, which you can adjust on the left side, the blue drop-down menu. Again, every hour you're awake drains you 2.5%. Every hour you're asleep rejuvenates you 5%. And there is a little bit of adjustment in that 5% based on sleep quality, which you can also adjust on the left side. Now, your task, I've already put in the stressors that I want you to try to manage. There's a 10 a.m. Creating a client treatment plan, which I have said drains a counseling student about 21%. It's a new skill that they're developing, new muscle. And then 2 o'clock, running errands, bank, post office, pharmacy, that's about 14% according to the system. And at 6 p.m. writing a research paper, that's due at midnight. So they've got to really hustle. That's a big 35%. What you'll notice in the system also is that there's a compound stress cost. So multiple stressors actually create a compounding effect, which take away even more of a person's energy. And then you see the natural energy deplete. On my end, it looks like there's a total of minus 118% energy. That is a lot. Now, I want to give everyone the chance to play around with this for a few minutes. And here's your job. You saw that slide a couple slides back that was managing a stressful day. And that is your job. Prevent a crash at the end of the day by inserting some recovery activities. Can you do that? Because this is something that counseling students are going to have to do. So let's jump into the shoes. I actually invite my fellow presenters to try this as well on your computers.
I'm going to put down my day. I'm embarrassed to admit what I've done so far today. And it's 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, you don't have to manage your stressful day on this. You could just manage this pretend student stressful day. And maybe the game of it all will make things a little bit better. One thing you'll notice on the blue drop-down menu is this chronotype. So that was something I was looking into with the work of Dr. Michael Brea, sleep study psychologist specialist. So a bear is where most of us will be. That's following the sun pattern, right? We wake up when it gets light. We get tired when the sun goes down. A dolphin, not many people will be dolphins. Some of our clients will be. That's usually people that have very light sleep, struggle with insomnia. a wolf might be characterized as a night person. And then a lion might be characterized as a morning person. So a real sharp energy peak in the morning and then a slight steady decline throughout the day. All right, why don't we turn on our microphones and let's talk through our experience with this tool. I'd love to actually help you to try this tool out a little bit. And I'd love to hear how different people are getting on. You don't have to have it all solved.
This is Dr. Smith. I'll jump in just to get us rolling. I did not download the spreadsheet just because I have technical issues on my computer. However, I was thinking, okay, if I was trying to manage this stressful day, what kind of self-care activities would I use? And again, the emphasis would be on self-care that doesn't take a lot of time. Like, I'm not going to go get a massage. I'm not going to go to yoga class because those are big time commitments. I'm going to do things like play my favorite piece of music on my way to see the client, where I'm going to rock out in the car. That makes me happy. Just before I go in to see the client, I'm going to stop and intentionally look around and notice something in nature, whether it's a sparrow or a dandelion or anything that I can go, oh, that was nice.
I love those thoughts.
And
Yeah,
and then, just after seeing the client, I'm going to do something like, literally, I mean this quite literally, close the clinic door and then quite literally shake my body, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, because I learned that from the somotherapy that animals shake out stress when they're really, really traumatized. So that's a good way of getting stress out of your body, is just by shaking it out. Those are the kinds of things that I would do that take like less than 30 seconds to pepper some self-care throughout the day. Does that help? I mean, is it giving you what you're looking for? But I didn't interact with the tool, so I screwed up your plan, and forgive me for that.
oh, you're forgiven, but I absolutely. So your instinct is to do things that are easy to stack in with your life. You can't cut things out, but actually you can increase the quality and rejuvenative impact of things in just 30 seconds. I love that. So you might.
Yeah, I saw Dr. Weber laughing at me. She knows me.
So in this, you might have the client treatment plan at 10 and you might start drinking a little coffee at 10 or a little tea. Or you might do 5 minutes of meditation after creating the treatment plan.
There you go. Yeah.
Already we're building things up a little bit.
Now we're on a roll.
Yep, maybe listening to music. When can you do that? You can do it on the way while you're running errands. 2 p.m. We're still not quite there. You'll notice that we have 36% compared to 118%. But maybe we can go to bed a little earlier. Maybe we can go to bed at 9.
Yeah. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I have a very intentional bedtime routine that I have learned helps a great deal. And that is I start going to bed about an hour before I actually plan to be asleep. I de-stress from the day. I have a bedtime ritual that I go through, and then I get in bed and my bed is very comfy. I've spent a lot of money on my bed and I'm very glad I did. It is an adjustable bed with a firm mattress. It vibrates. Ooh, ah. Theoretically, according to the owner's manual, the vibrating bread opens your blood vessels and supports restorative rest. Okay, I fell for that. All right. It's like putting a baby on the washing machine in a bassinet. If you put them on the vibrating washing machine, that vibration from the washing machine will help them go to sleep. If you put them in the car and take them for a ride when they won't go to sleep, they'll go to sleep. So the vibrations really help. All right, not everybody has a vibrating bed. I get that. But then I also turn off the devices, all devices, and I will read, because that back and forth motion of your eyes reading a page, it crosses that corpus callosum inside your brain, and it's a little bit like eye movement desensitization, a
Mhm.
little bit. And that reading calms you down. The physical act of reading, not even necessarily what you're reading, but just the physical act of reading helps you calm down and go to sleep. So yeah, I'm very intentional about my sleep routine. Sorry, did I dominate there? Forgive me.
I love all the comments. I love
Love
all the comments. I wanted to show maybe another area of impact could be in anticipation, right? So we have a yesterday being a long day. I mean, what if we started the day just a little bit different, right? What if we got 8 hours of sleep and we were mindful of our routines? I mean, all of a sudden there's a little bit more hope. And what if we had a warm shower? I know that's one of these. And all of a sudden, maybe there's like a little bit of bandwidth to write a research paper. Maybe. But this is a stressful day. This is a day in the life of a master's level counseling student. I'm curious, what did other people put in their chart as they were looking through some of the options?
Hi, Kyle. This is Jody. I tried to get on via the computer. I'm not very techie savvy. So, as a graduate student that is a full-time police officer and a full-time student, I can only imagine what this would look like for me. I would say to relieve some of my stress, I work with a therapy dog too, actually. So I think playing with them too before my classes begin helps me quite significantly. But that stress from work here back home, I can only imagine what this graph would look like for me. Um,
I'd love for
my
you to I'd love for you to download it and try it later. I mean, it is true that a lot of people managing and juggling different things in life are really riding on a dangerous line between functioning and burnout. It is incredible the amount of things that people manage while going through a graduate program. It sounds like you manage quite a bit, and you manage in ways that are very creative and restorative to you. I love playing with dogs. I think that's a thing that can really help. And I'm the second task. So if we've somewhat managed a stressful day for a person, the second task that I wanted to introduce you to was this idea of a recovery day. So let's say it's Friday and you're running at 20%, you go to bed, and your sole focus on Saturday is, okay, I need to be a functioning adult again. I need to really take care of myself. I need to do things that are going to be uplifting and things that are going to restore me. Now, I heard people mention some of their own ideas, and built into this calculator is the functionality to do just that. So you can add some tasks of your own into this, and we can see what it does in terms of energy change. So let's do one together. Somebody give me a task or a recovery item that's something
Kyle,
that
do you want to share your screen and I'll stop sharing? Or
have I not been sharing my screen this whole time?
I don't think so.
Oh, it looked like I was, but maybe you were still sharing.
Oh, okay. I stopped sharing. You share.
Okay. Yeah.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Here we go. So this was the this was the calculator, right? So I had risen, I had raised end of energy yesterday. I'd made the sleep quality a little better, so that raised it earlier in the day. I'd added some recovery tasks. You know, I think one more probably could have raised things over the edge, but you really do see a steep decline between 5 and 6 because of this 35% drop and some of the compounding stress cost.
That's Dr. Smith as a student, right?
But you know, this is mostly a conversation starter until we get into this idea of a recovery day. And so built into this functionality here are these two little boxes here that will automatically update from this tab at the bottom, which is the recovery input tab. So I think we should do a few things together, do a few recovery items. Somebody give me an idea.
I like Jody's idea of like petting a dog or walking a dog.
Did you say playing with your dogs?
Yeah, petting a dog or walking a dog. What do you do, Jody? Your
I
dog
play
is
with them, catch,
or-
walk with them. They're in the pool.
Okay, so here's the first item that goes into this energy change score. It's emotional relief. For you, where would you say playing with your dogs scores on this scale from 0 to 10?
10 being the best, or
10 being I'm emotionally clear, steady, and recharged.
mm,
0 being I feel no different than before.
I'd say maybe an 8.
Okay, let's stick an 8 in here. Okay, so next, cognitive engagement. So this is one of those things that has a parabolic relationship with energy level, because under engagement and over engagement may be slightly draining, and things in the middle might be a happy medium. So where would you say this scores for you? How cognitively involved is playing with your dogs?
I'd say about an 8
Okay.
again.
Okay. What about a physical impact?
I'd say about an 8 again.
8. Okay, so this is pushing your body to a high level. Yeah. Okay. That some of the ways that this is actually scored, it's going to probably penalize you for some of these high scores on cognitive engagement and physical impact. What would the duration be?
We'll give it 30 minutes.
Okay, so 30 minutes. Yeah, so 30 minutes is a no change as well. I wondered if we drop some of the cognitive engagement. I mean, I know you were saying that it did take a little bit more cognition, but you know, sometimes play is that happy medium where you are cognitively engaged, but it's actually a productive cognitive engagement. It's not too much of a cognitive load. And I mean, physical impact. I know you were playing catch. Maybe I'll put that at like a 6. Okay. I think 19%. What would you say? Is that about the
Yeah.
impact of something like that for you? Okay. Okay. So if we bring that over to the calculator, we now have a 19% impact, which will stick in at 6 p.m. And all of a sudden, we've managed our stressful day. But that wasn't our goal. Our goal was to create a restorative day. So why don't people play around with that for just a minute? The recovery impact, and put in something that you find restorative. And I'd love to hear 1 or 2 people mention what you did do or what you would have done if you could download and use the Excel spreadsheet. I'm gonna erase some of these.
Dr. Weber, I'm laughing. You have your little puppy on your lap.
Yeah, Jinjin is sound asleep, resting on my arm, and I am in emotional heaven. Yes.
Love it.
And if it were a Saturday morning recovery day, I would still be in my pajamas and my velour robe, feeling very comfortable. And I'd have light music on. And then my big activity is, instead of throwing the ball across the room and fetching it 40 times, I would only do 20. And then I'd give him a treat and I'd take a nap.
I love it. Mine's about to climb into my lap if I don't give him some attention
Yes.
right this minute.
Okay.
Kyle, I would say for me, one of the things I think like restorative day is if I can find a nature trail.
Hmm.
And I mean, I like to run, but I would not go run on the nature trail. I'd actually walk.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'd like to go on the nature trail is get away from the sound sights of the city, the work that I do, the schoolwork that's involved, and just let thoughts roll off my mind
Yeah, that's
until I'm in a place of peace. And that's typically 5-6 miles in for me. So,
Hmm.
but I guess that would be physically engaging, but I don't feel like it is when you run all the time.
Mm. So that's great. I stuck that in 1 p.m. A walk that increased our energy about 19%. So perhaps the goal at the end of a recovery day might be to push things into the green when you're going to sleep. Because
I'm sorry, Kyle. It's um I'm me. Anyway,
Dr.
I know I'm like, it's Dr. That seems so pretentious. Anyway, I was wondering, I'm glad that we talked about physical stuff because I play pickleball and I really enjoy playing pickleball. So I did plug in all the stuff that I thought about it was because I thought it'll be negative and then it's not, but I know it's restorative, but it actually did. It gave me a little bit of an increase. So
yeah, pickleball is very fun. We've got a pretty competitive league at our local gym. Yeah, we can never play basketball anymore. There's so many people. It's really popular. I'm curious before we end out on this, maybe we can plug one or two more things in. What would you do on a restorative day for yourself? If I have it as an option, I'll plug it in. If not, then we can add it into this recovery input window.
How
Kyle,
about cooking a good meal?
there you go. There's when I teach my students about self-care and quite frankly therapy as well for helping people overcome trauma, I tell them to be incredibly holistic about it. What they eat, what they wear, how they move, what they see, what they listen to, what they smell. Because smells are incredibly important in trauma therapy because as you all know this already, smell goes it goes straight to the limbic system through the olfactory bulbs in our nose. It's not processed by the prefrontal cortex at all. It just goes straight to the limbic system. So smells can be really, really good or really, really bad. So we have to be careful with that when we do work with our clients. But again, also just all of the realms of human experience, spirituality, movement, social connection, being validated, having a sense of meaning, using all of our faculties, movement, writing, singing, dancing, whatever it is that we can do. Checking some simple things off the to-do list, folding laundry, putting the dishes away, really, really, really simple things that if they're not done, they begin to wear on you.
Thanks for sharing all that. Really valuable. One thing I want you to notice before we close out on this is that, there's some green, there may still be some red in a recovery day. That's okay. We have natural fluctuations in our energy throughout the day. I think this is meant to be a conversation starter. If you were to use this with clients, right, this isn't the first and last word on how to manage your time, but energy, you have a budget. That might be new to some people. As counseling students, graduate students, remember a time when I felt invincible. I remember a time when I took on more than I probably should have, and I could justify it because of finances, because of responsibilities to others, because of this, that, or the other thing. And I wonder if this is a wellness perspective on budgeting your energy. And that's one of the things I like about burnout, is that it stems from kind of a wellness perspective, where you're not broken because you're limited. Being human means you're limited. That is part of being human. So I am going to pause here, and I am going to turn it over to Jen.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to, so we did this. And so, Dr. Smith, thank you so much for sharing. And I was going to say, I know you're teaching. Dr. Weber, are you teaching too now?
I am taking a complete year off. I know Dr. Smith knows for me to do that is
Weber for the
miracle.
win.
I have done some consulting and presenting, but I said a calendar, 12 months, no teaching, and
Wow.
attending to other things, because when I teach, I'm thinking about it 24/7. Should I
Mhm.
change this? Should I change that? And when I take that away, it was withdrawal, but it's kind of like a long mental health day that lasts 365. It's a good thing. I still communicate a great deal with my students. And one of the first things we do is, what are you doing for self-care? And what are you doing to slow down? Because many of them are like you, Jennifer, family, taking care of, grandparents, taking care of children, driving to the doctor, all that. And we imagine slowing it down. So one of the things I've taught them, I said, turn on a video of Tai Chi, which is very, very, very slow, rather than running to the gym for the fitness session. And so I've been doing that by not teaching for a year. They're learning to do that before a test to slow their brain down.
Nice.
Okay.
I love that. That's such a great strategy, because I think in academic programs, like Dr. Smith was saying, we are all going to experience working with a client who has had a trauma, all of us. And then, like I said, like it's an occupational hazard of our job is that we work with clients who have experienced trauma, and we ourselves are vulnerable to that absorption vulnerability, which Dr. Compton and Taylor Patterson, who's a PhD candidate, has started to increase our awareness about absorption vulnerability in our profession, working with clients who have had trauma. We're vulnerable, we're open to that. So this this slide was something that I accredit to Regent University professors who I had the privilege to TRA for. Rob Olsen has also TRA'd in classes that have utilized self-care bingo. Self-care bingo is something that's like, it's out there. We know it's not really researched. I've looked for research on self-care bingo. They're really sorry. My dog is telling me to go let him outside. Self-care bingo is really something that we know is a great tool, but I was going to say, I did this before with just the four of us. And I said, okay, look at this slide and tell me if you can check off, like if you can get bingo today. Like we all laughed because we laughed. Like, did you listen to music today? I didn't. But I danced, I exercised for 30 minutes. I did laundry. Cleaning is one of my self-care things. Smith's cleaning, that smell, that olfactory. I have like Febreze is like this scent is like one of my favorite scents. So I don't know. Can anybody get bingo? No. Even with the free space.
Actually, yeah, I have bingo. I have
can.
bingo and then
I
some.
do.
Yeah.
Awesome, Dr. Sadler.
Good for you, Dr.
Yeah.
Sadler. Well
Yeah.
done.
Good for you,
I wa-
especially first year teaching.
And what I was going to say, could you have said
Yes.
that? Could you have said that 6 months ago when you're in the middle of preparing for your defense? It's just like, oh my
No,
gosh, make
Not
it,
at all.
make it stop. And you know what? I think that's an important thing for all of us to remember also. I use the metaphor of book chapters, and that helps too. Like, you know what? You're in a heroic chapter right now. And so you're gonna push hard in this chapter. You're gonna push hard. But guess what? The chapter's gonna end. And then you're going to have a chapter of rest. So the cycle of restoration is not just daily, but it's also I don't know, seasonal. Maybe that's not the right word, but you know, in terms of chapters, sometimes we have tough chapters and then we need to take a break.
Mhm.
And I liked the notion, someone said it earlier in this session about having the anticipation of the break, and that it's in itself is restorative. So that's good too.
Excellent. Excellent. So this is just some key takeaways. I mean, I can share the presentation as long as everybody's okay, so that way you could get a copy of it if you want. And you can see the self-care bingo, which I don't know, Dr. Smith, have you used that in your classes, self-care bingo?
I have not yet, but guess what? I'm going to talk about it.
I love it. Well, one of
I'm sorry, Jen.
go ahead,
I
go ahead.
make my students, I'm actually the one who inserted this in some of our classes. I make the students take little pictures and do it as a PDF. And so they have a little picture of them doing the thing. The funny story is, if you are on the self-care bingo card, it usually says something like taking a bath or a shower. And I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. No.
No, we don't need to see that. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Dr. Runyon. I didn't know that you were the one who had introduced this, but yes, Dr. Jameson was who I TRA'd for, and in the master level program at Regent University, and we used self-care bingo for the master level students, and I think it's awesome. I am adjuncting at Seton Hall University, and I do not think that we use this in our program, but I think that it's such a great tool, and it's really something that's kind of easy and fun to implement, just to get the creative juices flowing for students, especially master level students. Like Jody, like you're saying, you yourself are, you're working full time, you're in a master level program. We need more students who are more attentive and aware of how much compassion fatigue is an everyday thing, because as a student, you're so wanting to do a good job, right? Like all of us. I'm a student right now, and I want to do a good job. I want to prove to my professors that I'm worthy and that I'm good enough. And there's this natural tendency that we fall into to want to prove to others that we're good enough and that we're doing a good enough job. And so normalizing this conversation is something that we need to do a lot more of in our academic programs, because we need to talk about it in a way that we're not scaring students off, but letting them know, like, hey, it takes a village, and we need a village to pay attention to that mind, body, and spirit, the spirit of what we're doing as counseling professionals. So just wanted to kind of respect everybody's time. We have about 5 minutes, but does anybody else have any other suggestions that maybe we can share together and collaborate? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So
Hey, Jennifer, I wanted to,
something-
on a takeaway, just something I've noted. I am working on my dissertation as well. And one of the things I've noted through literature review is this is a retention issue, because I'm looking at the group that's here. It's an attrition issue for students. It's a retention issue for us who are educators. And we need to be aware of that. That's why that's why we felt like this was so important. It was like, hey, we really want to bring this out, that it's important we help our students, but also recognize that we as individuals sitting in the position of giving assignments and expectations to our students, we're providing them a space as well that can be restorative and helpful for them. We're the best example. My philosophy is, I feel strong about this. We are the best example for how to work through it. And if we don't exemplify how to work through these things and have these conversations, we just missed out on a great opportunity in forming future leaders. So,
Rob, you're working at what university again?
I work at a small Christian college, and then I've TA'd at that region as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Rob, what you just said really helped me. And this is an idea that I'll throw out for future educators. I teach some really high level courses that expect a lot of the students. They have to integrate a lot of information in order to create a submission. I do that on purpose because that mirrors what we do as counselors. We're integrating a crap ton load of information in order to come up with a response to our clients. So one of the things I do, and I stumbled on this just to make my life a little more manageable, but I stumbled on the opt-out option for one high ticket assignment. And then I just exempt the student from that one high ticket assignment. Like, say I've got 5 of those. They can opt out of one of them, and they only have to do 4 of them, and then they're exempted out from that 5th one. So, and they get to choose which one it is they want to opt out of. Maybe it's an assignment that doesn't resonate for them. Maybe it's an assignment that's due the week they were gonna, go fishing with their grandson. Maybe it's the Sunday before spring break begins and they don't want to have to turn in anything. They want to bug out on Friday, like that kind of stuff. So I have that opt out thing, and let me tell you, not one person has complained about the opt out thing. And I even have the option of saying, I don't want to opt out. I want to do all the assignments. And I do have a handful of overachievers who do want to do all of the assignments. And I'm okay with that too. So again, the emphasis on options.
I like that.
A real quick thing for counselor educators and also any of you doing your dissertation is that very early in my career, and my career was 52 years, so I must have been 12 then or something, but I always told students to take a mental health day whenever you need it. Not a mental health day to go to the doctor, do the shopping and go do that, but a total mental health day. And I would say, do 4 solid days on your dissertation, give 2 days of that week to family and friends, and 1 day is a total self-care, nobody else day. And giving them 1 day off from themselves, you regain so much energy. And I know probably if you took those algorithms, you could put how much energy you've regained by simply not looking at your dissertation for a full day. You come out and energized and happy, and your family's nice to you again. But balance those days. And if you say, well, I'm going to do a little every day of the week for 8 days a week, you don't even have 8 days, you're a miserable mess and you can't get over it. But if you blanket it out completely for at least 1 day, it's amazing how you say, oh my God, I'm human. And so we do have an obligation as counselor. I've made little DXs for students saying, you may not look at your dissertation at all this Friday. If I catch you looking at it, you're going to have to walk my dog or something. And they laugh. It is urgent that sometimes you take time off.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I want to respect everybody's time, and I really do appreciate you all joining us today and sharing some really great tips. I hope that maybe you learned something new, or at least we're able to kind of come up with some new creative strategies to integrate into your own personal self-care practice, but also in the work that you're all doing, since a lot of us are educators. So I think it's important that we incorporate some new strategies into really kind of invigorating our future counselors, to really build, like Rob was saying, we want to sustain the longevity of our profession. That's my whole mission in life, is to make sure that this profession stays strong and that we're able to carry through, and really form the minds of future counselors. But thank you very much for everybody joining today, and I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
right.
you. Join us next
Dr. Sadler.
time if you can.
Yes,
On the
yeah.
15th, we'll have another presentation. So I'll be posting that up soon.
Oh,
When is that?
good.
When, say it again?
April 15th.
April 15th. Good job.
Yeah, at 3
Thank-
p.m. So I'll
thank
be
you.
posting that soon.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a
bye.
good
Thank
one.
you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Dr. Sadler. Awesome. Good job, guys.
Rob left. So
You